Right, a couple of quick points now about Darth Vader and his Imperial Stormtroopers. Now, many of us, of course, want to be able to do that great Darth Vader voice. And an aid to this is a big cardboard tube, open at one end, nice broad caliber with preferably a metal bit at the end of it. This is a Pringles tube that's been painted to disguise it, and I'm sure you'll be able to get hold of something like it.
And straight away, when you speak into this, you start sounding so much more like him.
But you've got to do a bit more to it than that. The first thing you've got to do is change the rhythm of your speech. You speak always in complete statements.
He gets to the end of one statement, and then there comes the pause. And then he moves on to the next sentence, because he does not fear being interrupted. And a pause at the end of a complete statement makes your silence so much more terrifying.
Another thing you've got to do is lengthen your vowels, particularly short vowels like ah. The word act, for instance, has a short A sound, and as I would normally say act, Darth Vader says act. You see, he draws it out.
Do not act so surprised, Your Highness. You're on no mercy mission this time.
Time, mercy. You've got to draw out those vowels a bit because, James Earl Jones loves the sound of his own voice, and so he revels in it a bit, and why shouldn't he? Right, so that's enough tips on how to do a Darth Vader voice. Now, I have a theory to explain why Imperial Stormtroopers are such lousy shots. You see, you may remember in the first film, A New Hope, when Obi-Wan Kenobi is explaining to the young Luke Skywalker, in the scene with the sandcrawler and they found all the dead Jawas, and he's saying, these tracks are side by side. Sand people always walk in single file to hide their numbers. And he draws his attention to the blast points. I don't know what those are, but then the blast points that they can see. Only Imperial Stormtroopers are so precise. So we've established that they're really good shots, Imperial Stormtroopers. These are the elite who have conquered the galaxy. And yet, they don't seem to be able to actually hit anything when we see them in the film. Well, I put it to you that there is an explanation for this. It may be a bit post hoc reasoning because, the real reason is, of course, that it's meant to be an exciting action film and they wanted laser bolts flying about the place. But since all the characters involved in the escape from the Death Star were main characters, they didn't have any minor characters to kill off, they couldn't hit any of them. But here's another explanation which perhaps works in the context of the world in which it's set. Now, you've got to remember that Darth Vader, we later discover, has a plan to put a homing beacon aboard the Millennium Falcon so that the escaped prisoners will lead him to the enemy rebel base. Well, that plan's not going to work if those rebels all get shot by the Imperial elite stormtroopers who can shoot really well before they can escape. So, there's something we know about these stormtroopers. You may remember in Mos Eisley, you do not need to see their identification. We do not need to see their identification. Move along. Move along. They are weak. These clone warriors are weak at the head and vulnerable to the Force. So, Darth Vader could have been using the Force to make sure that all the Imperial stormtroopers on the Death Star missed. But they put up a reasonable fight just to convince the people trying to escape that they were trying to hit. Anyway, that's one theory, and it still works in the Cloud City later in the Empire Strikes Back. It turns out, you must remember, that Darth Vader was in the Cloud City as well, and by this point he has worked out that Luke Skywalker is his son, and possibly that Princess Leia is his daughter, although we don't know that. So again, he's not going to want his son and his daughter shot by the overzealous elite stormtroopers, is he? So he will use the Force to make sure that they miss, and then he can meet his son and introduce himself to his son, and okay, that didn't go so well.